There is a story full of richness, a story of mythic proportions that is continuing to add new chapters. I do not know it has ever been fully conveyed. I will try to do so today in this video on the first night of Hanukkah ever celebrated in North America, December 4, 1654. Until 1654, there was a small, thriving Jewish community that was tolerated in what was then Dutch-occupied Brazil, where Rabbi Asser Levy and his congregation of 22 other Jewish men, women, and children. All this changed in 1654 when Portugal took over control of Brazil, in particular Recife, Brazil. The Portuguese executed some Jews and forced all other Jews to flee and board ships to take them back to Europe. One of those ships was the St. Charles, and like many ships traveling between Europe and the Americas, this ship, carrying Asser Levy and 22 other Jews, stopped in the very small trading colony of New Amsterdam. That was the first day observant Jews ever set foot in North America. Rabbi Levy and his congregation made a decision to stay here as they stood at Bowling Green, right in front of the fort, Fort Amsterdam, the administrative center of the colony. 23 Jews, 4 men, 6 women, and 13 children, encompassing 5 different Jewish families. Something very important that happened here on February 2nd, 1653, the previous year, made that decision possible. On February 2nd, 1653, what had been simply a company trading post of the Dutch West India Company, under the complete control of its Director General, Peter Stuyvesant, as a result of the growing demands of the rebellious colonists, New Amsterdam was issued a self-governing charter, which on February 2nd, 1653, made New Amsterdam, now New York City, the first self-governing municipality anywhere in America, with a council of citizens sharing authority with Stuyvesant. That pivotal moment in the history of New York City and America paved the way for Jews to settle here because of a citizen government far more tolerant than Peter Stuyvesant. What these 23 Jews did was register with the Common Council of Burgomasters and Schepens, as they were then known, who allowed these 23 Jews to stay here in New Amsterdam over the fierce objections of the bigoted, anti-Jewish Director General Peter Stuyvesant, who did everything in his power to get these Jews to leave, making life difficult for these pioneering Jews. They eventually wrote to the Jewish investors in the Dutch West India Company in Amsterdam, New Netherlands, which finally forced Stuyvesant to stop his campaign against these Jews. As for New Amsterdam itself, in 1654, the total population was only about 750 men, women, and children, all clustered around what is today Bowling Green, and they were adventurers from all over, and reportedly spoke 18 different languages among them, which made it possible for the new Jewish settlers to communicate effectively. The all-important significance of what is today Bowling Green, and back then was in effect New York's first and only town square, directly in front of the entrance to the fort, is that it is where virtually all the interactions between colonists and all visitors alike took place. Exchange of pleasantries, useful information, and the trading of goods and all other activities. This is where the new Jewish settlers would have interacted each day with the other colonists, and where, on December 4, 1654, they would surely have explained Hanukkah to them as they quietly celebrated this Jewish festival here in America for the first time. This first community of Jewish Americans who arrived here poor with almost no possessions prospered here as shopkeepers, butchers, and in other professions, while constantly facing various forms of discrimination. In February 1656, they created the first Jewish cemetery in America. Moreover, led by Asser Levy and also Jacob Barsim's son, these Jews were brave and assertive in demanding their rights as full members of the community and to practice their faith as they wished. They were unafraid to bring actions on their own behalf in the local court. They sought to become burgomasters, the highest citizen distinction in New Amsterdam, and they sued to be allowed to join and participate in the defense of the colony as members of the Citizen Watch, New York's first police force. Also, very notably, they formed the first functional congregation in America, Congregation Shearith Israel, which still exists. Later, on the night of July 9, 1776, New Yorkers destroyed the statue of England's King George III to declare their freedom and ours from British oppression following the signing of the Declaration of Independence days earlier. It is here where the first Jews stood and celebrated the first Hanukkah in America, where on November 25th, 1783, General George Washington returned to New York City and Bowling Green triumphant to celebrate the successful conclusion of the American Revolution and the start of a new nation. Let me skip quickly all the way to 1997 and the continuation of this never-ending story of the first 23 Jews here in America. It was only in 1997 that I first learned about the first 23 Jews who arrived here in 1654. As a result, I went to see the great sculptor Arturo de Modica, who created the legendary, world-famous Charging Bull, which stands here at Bowling Green since December 20th, 1989. In 1997, the Italian-American sculptor Arturo de Modica agreed to build by himself a magnificent bronze menorah for Bowling Green in honor of the first 23 Jews, and what he did was extraordinary. We dedicated and first lighted that new special menorah in the center of Bowling Green, where the first Jews had arrived in 1654, and where years later New Yorkers destroyed the hated statue of King George III. The outstanding Impressionist painter, the late Camille Kubik, immortalized that historic event with a spectacular oil painting titled The First Night of Hanukkah, featuring Arturo de Modica's sculptural menorah. That painting has become a classic image of Hanukkah in America and is presented in this Hanukkah tribute as an image for all. Sadly, that incredible menorah, a valuable work of sculpture by a very famous sculptor, Arturo de Modica, which was illuminated with giant real candles and natural flames, has been lost. But in 2005, another Hanukkah miracle took place at Bowling Green when we erected the world's first public menorah, candles illuminated with LED lights for the first time anywhere. A beautiful, elegant menorah constructed from standard electrical equipment by two Irish-American Catholic electricians and authorized and funded by a very generous Jewish New Yorker, Philip Alton. This is the menorah we still place in Bowling Green, the Philip Alton menorah, which we will light again here at Bowling Green. That is the final chapter of this story so far, which begins with 23 Jewish men, women, and children arriving here in Bowling Green in 1654, as we honor them each year at Bowling Green today, and will continue to do each Hanukkah forevermore since 1997. There is much more to this epic story yet to be written. Stay tuned, and happy Hanukkah.